know that in our world today, there are many conflicts between countries over borders and laws and rules, and they all seem to lead to nowhere, no matter how many negotiations we try to have. They never seem to go anywhere. Ronald Reagan delivered a speech that changed, that caused people to actually listen and change their ways. Reagan makes it known in his Tear Down This Wall speech that the Soviet Union needs to clean up its act and reunify Berlin and Germany, and to really try to get along with the rest of the world. So a little bit about Reagan. First, he was a Hollywood actor in the 1950s. He was in many movies, and people thought that would make him not a good leader. But he decided to run for governor of California, and he won the race for governor. And after that, he decided he was going to run for president, and he also won that election and became the 40th president of the United States. So where did he give this impactful speech? He delivered this speech on June 12, 1987. He was standing in front of the Brandenburg Gate in Berlin, Germany. And at that time, Germany was divided into the west half and the east half. And Berlin was controlled by the Soviets. The east half was controlled by the Soviets, and the west half was controlled by a combination of European nations and America. It was not a very effective leadership position because the western half of Germany and Berlin was flourishing and people were prospering and life was good. But if you went over to the east half, you could not cross that border. The Soviets had locked everything down and they were living in communism, and it was not working very well. Families were split up and tensions were high. It also took place during the Cold War. This is towards the end of the Cold War.
Now the Soviets themselves may in a limited way be coming to understand the importance of freedom. We hear much from Moscow about a new policy of reform and openness. Some political prisoners have been released. Certain foreign news broadcasts are no longer being jammed. Some economic enterprises have been permitted to operate with greater freedom from state control. Are these the beginnings of profound changes in the Soviet state? Or are they token gestures intended to raise false hopes in the West or to strengthen the Soviet system without changing it? We welcome change and openness, for we believe that freedom and security go together, that the advance of human liberty can only strengthen the cause of world peace. There is one sign the Soviets can make that would be unmistakable, that would advance dramatically the cause of freedom and peace. General Secretary Gorbachev, if you seek peace, if you seek prosperity for the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe, if you seek liberalization, come here to this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
So that's just a clip from his speech. It was the most powerful line, and that's where the speech got its title, the Tear Down This Wall. At the time, it was kind of swept under the rug and pushed aside. They didn't think it would hold any significance. But obviously, looking back now, it did truly bring about change. So like I said earlier, the east side of Germany was oppressed under the Soviet rule. And So when Reagan delivered the speech, people were praising it. Like the people lined up in Germany were cheering. They wanted this wall gone. They wanted to see their families. They wanted to be able to travel. 2 years after the speech, the Berlin Wall came down. And even before that, the Soviet Union restarted its nuclear negotiation talks with the United States. This speech really helped world leaders to come back together and try again to seek peace. Reagan uses many rhetorical devices. One of them is metaphors. He refers to the Berlin Wall as a scar. It was not a pretty sight, and it truly separated people. And he used expletives, which interrupts a phrase to emphasize it. So in this quote, he says, as the alliance in turn prepared to go forward with its counter-deployment, there were difficult days of protests like my 1982 visit. And in that, he splits it up and really emphasizes how the days were like. He also uses metanoia that's when you recall a statement and state it better. And he uses that when he says they were within the reach of the possibility not only of limiting the growth of arms, but of eliminating an entire class of nuclear weapons. And lastly, ethos, pathos, and logos. As you can see from the video clip I shared, pathos is used a lot. He calls the Berliners and praises them. And he really pulls on the emotional side. And ethos, he establishes that at the beginning of his speech. He's the President of the United States. That's his credibility. And he also uses a lot of facts throughout it. And when he uses logos, he brings up other countries like Japan, how it came back from World War II. It used the freedom throughout that to really push and share how freedom helps countries prosper. And he did a really good job of persuading the people. Thank you.